All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Gauthier. I'm the founder of Zyfi, and today I'm going to present you the magic of native account abstraction on ZK-Sync. I think we've all been there. Having no ETH is really breaking the on-chain user experience. As I like to say, having no gas is a pain in the ass. And one way to solve this would be smart wallets, right? And we've seen quite a decent amount of adoption, right? Around 2 million of active users that are actually leveraging smart wallets. But today, who in the room today is actually using a smart wallet from day-to-day basis? Oh, we got one. It's not bad. But if you compare that to the active users that we have today, it's around 70 million. So this results in a pretty low adoption rate of around 3% of users actually leveraging account abstraction. And this is due to the fact that smart wallets show some drawbacks, right? It requires gas to deploy. So funny story, you're supposed to abstract ETH, but you actually need ETH to use the smart wallets. You can't easily migrate from a smart wallet to an EOA, at least not for now. And users don't want to change wallets. It's like a home, it's like a bank account. You don't want to change it. And we've seen a lack of interoperability with most of the dApps. And this is due to the fact that there's two different flows that we see today, which separates both the EOAs and the smart contracts accounts. But ZK-Sync has tried to solve this by creating a unified flow for both EOAs and smart contracts account. So the flow is a little bit different. As you can see, there's a unified mempool, and then there is the bundler, which is actually the operator on ZK-Sync. And then there's the bootloader, which is the entry point contract, and basically it replaces the same flow, and thus enabling an EOA to interact with the Paymaster. So when we discovered this around a year ago on ZK-Sync, we discovered that most of the projects did not leverage a Paymaster. Why? Because it's very complex to implement. It's very complex to customize and to audit or verify. And we've seen many people throughout the ecosystem trying to build their own solution and waste time. So we decided to create a very simple solution for anyone basically to implement a Paymaster on their protocol or their dApp. So basically what you can do is you can, as a project, you can sponsor gas fully for users, or you can let them pay gas with any ERC20. And we've created a system where basically, we do most of the computation off-chain so that we can accept any token as gas. But I'll go deeper into this later. So here's an example. I'm a user. I don't have ETH. I only have Shiba Inu in my wallets, or even any token that just came out and has liquidity. I'm going to interact with the front end, and I'm going to say, look, I don't have ETH, but I want to still do this specific transaction. So front-end is going to send that transaction to our API, and basically what's going to happen is that it's going to transform that specific transaction into a Paymaster transaction. It's also going to do some calculation, like try to calculate the price of that token that the user chose for us to know exactly how much gas we need to cover the transaction. So basically, we'll reconstruct that specific transaction, adding the exact amount of the input token we need to take from the user, and also adding a message from our API that will basically allow the Zyfi Paymaster to approve that specific transaction. So once that transaction is reconstructed, it's sent back to the front end for basically the user to view and sign. So this remains trustless. And until now, we've processed around 1 million transactions throughout the ZK-Sync ecosystem. So this is quite an interesting model because you don't need to deploy your own Paymaster. You need to manage the admin rights or even redeploy if you want to change a certain type of custom logic that you want to implement, a certain type of use case. And you don't need to have it audited or verified. This is a solution which is really flexible and enables anyone to just easily implement a Paymaster on their dApp. So with this, we've created a gasless portal for the whole ZK-Sync ecosystem. A place where anyone can come and do gasless swap, for example. They can even send tokens or even do custom transactions. So I'm going to show you exactly some of the use cases. So you come to our gas list portal and you want to do a swap. So you're going to select your input token, and that input token is going to be used by default as a gas token. And as you can see, when you do the swap, your fees, the gas fees, will be shown in that specific token. An interesting part is that you're only going to do a signature, right? So you don't need ETH. And as you can see, this is just a way to show all the Paymaster parameters that has been included into the transaction. And another way is, I think it all happened to us when you don't have any tokens in your wallets and any ETH in your wallets, but you still want to send tokens. Well, you can do so here, but you can also do custom transactions. So let's say you're on an NFT marketplace and you don't have ETH again to do your transaction. You just copy that transaction data, and you can basically still do the transaction. And we've also experienced some different use cases, for example, third-party gas sponsoring. So we've partnered with most of the NFT projects on ZK Sync, and basically what happens is that these projects, if you are a holder of these NFTs, you can get completely gasless transaction through us. And this is sponsored by the NFT projects themselves. Or you can even create a model where you say, look, if you do a swap above a certain amount of dollars, for example, $100, your transaction is completely free. We've also seen different use cases from the ZK ecosystem, for example, lending and borrowing markets, right? It's always a situation where you probably supplied some ETH and you don't have any ETH to do some other transaction on that specific marketplace. We've also partnered with Gravita, for example, where you can choose your gas token to be used. We've worked also with different DEXs, such as PancakeSwap, Nitro. We've seen different types of implementation where, for example, here, the input token is pre-selected. In this case, for example, for PancakeSwap, they just launched the feature, so they enabled completely gasless transaction for all the transactions on ZK Sync. And here we've also seen some nice use cases, for example, like minting NFTs, right? Where you enable users to mint an NFT with any token they have in their wallets, or even for like claiming an airdrop. I think it happens to all of us when you want to claim an airdrop and you don't have ETH to do so. We've also worked with games where they have like credits per transactions. And so this is the current model we have today. But in this model, there's a bit of a problem, right? It's that all the complicated parts is managed by the Zyfi API. So basically, in some way, you have to trust us. But we've just released today a permissionless multi-signature Paymaster, where basically you can create your own signer. And in that way, you can create your own API, and you don't need to work directly with us. So the model is pretty simple. You connect as a dApp manager, you deposit funds, and then you can create your own signer. So then basically you can interact with the Paymaster as well, manage your own amount of gas you want to sponsor, and then do any type of custom logic on your side through your API. And so yeah, we've released this sort of dashboard, which basically enables you to simply, in a couple steps, just create a signer, deposit some ETH, and then just enable gas sponsoring for your users. And so we've been integrated into over 30 projects on ZK Sync, have seen quite a tremendous growth through the ZK Sync ecosystem. As you can see, we've processed around 1 million transactions, we're processing around half of all the Paymaster transactions on ZK Sync today. So this is it, a bit quick, but happy to answer any of your questions or feedbacks you may have. What?
Does it work? Yeah. So do you have to have your own liquidity pools for all the tokens? Basically, what happens if I want to pay in some shitcoin that doesn't really have good liquidity? Like it's probably won't be viable, or?
Yeah, so we have like a whitelist of around 80 tokens. And so right now we're not adding any fees, but for example, if you were to use a token with like low liquidity, it would increase the markup of that specific token that you would use for us to cover that volatility of that token, for example.
Okay, but can you utilize like existing like Uniswap or SyncSwap liquidity pools for like some random tokens, or?
So the way it works is that on the API side, basically we use Odos. So we fetch the prices from Odos, it's an aggregator. So any token that is supported there, we can find a price and then calculate the gas that is needed for that transaction.
Got it.
Hello. Can you explain how does the ERC20 like gas payment works? Like who pays the gas fees in the native tokens eventually, and getting the ERC20 token from the users? So how does that like whole cycle work?
How does it work more precisely, or?
Yeah, like is it you that handles the ERC20 conversion, or does on ZK the validators actually accept the ERC20 token as a gas?
No, so we actually keep that token. So when you for example, so you say you want to pay in Shiba Inu, for example, so we take a bit of that input token and we just keep that on our side, and then we sell it from time to time manually, for example. Does that answer your question?
Okay, and that happens in the same transaction?
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's the cool part about ZK Sync is that when you're pre-approving, to our Paymaster, it actually batches the transaction as well. So you're pre-approving the Paymaster, but you can also pre-approve, for example, another contract. So it's batched into one transaction.
Got it. Thanks.
Someone else?
There's one over there.
Is there anything chain specific with your implementation, or could it be used on any chain?
Yeah, that's the the tricky question. So for now, it's only on ZK Sync as they support native account abstraction. But I think the Starknet has native account abstraction, but for now, it's only on ZK Sync in some way, as it's one of the only chains who has native account abstraction.
No other question? Okay, thank you very much then.
Thank you.